My name is Vinay Chandran. I'm from Bangalore, and I'm here to talk about sex a little bit. It's a lovely post-lunch conversation, and if you're falling asleep because of all that sweet biryani and all, you'll wake up now. And I have a question for you, and that question is, would you like to change your sexual orientation? For those of you who are not quite sure what that means, sexual orientation means you're attracted to a man, you are attracted to a man, that is your sexual orientation. If you want to change it, it means you want to be attracted to a woman. Or if you're attracted to a woman, you want to be attracted to a man. That's the whole point about sexual orientation. So what do we need in order to change you and your sexual orientation? Here's what you would need. Number one, a collection of images of people, persons, you are currently attracted to. Now, this may be, from your favorite Bollywood magazine or Tollywood magazine, or it might be Uncle Johnny Bravo there. It might actually be pornographic images that you're interested in. The second thing you will need are a collection of images of people you want to be attracted to. That, again, could be completely pornographic images, images from your favorite magazine, or Jessica Rabbit, if you're so inclined. What else would you need? An open mind. Because one of the things that mental health practitioners will tell you, doctors will tell you, that if you want to change yourself, the first thing you need is to be able to understand or have the faith that you will change, that you can change, that you have the ability to change. Of course, it wouldn't be too bad if you had an open wallet as well, because change is expensive. What else do you need? An intense fear and anxiety about being yourself and about being who you are. Why is that so? Because if you are not afraid of yourself, if you're not anxious about yourself, why would you want to change yourself, right? So obviously, in order for change to occur, there must be something you want to change. And that comes or stems from having an intense fear or anxiety. Next. What else would you need? You would need, finally, a health practitioner to offer you such a treatment, right? In order for you to change from whatever your current sexual desire, orientation is, to what you want it to be, to who you want to be attracted to. Now, what would we use in order for such a treatment to occur? Please, I call it the shock machine. It's bad language, but it's basically something called the aversion therapy machine. It's about the size of a transistor radio, and if you're too young to know what a transistor radio is, it's about slightly larger than an iPod phone. And if you don't know what an iPod phone is, shame on you. So what does this do? This is how it is used. You can see a volunteer's hand. He's not being shocked into change. You can also see next to his hand a small battery. That is exactly, it's just one of those rectangular batteries that you get in any market, so it's not a very strong shock. It's not like you go and stick your thumb in an electrical socket and you get a shock, right? It's not that kind of voltage we're talking about. It's a very mild shock. And what does the treatment involve? It involves you sitting with the doctor and the doctor telling you to fantasize about the image that you are currently attracted to. So you're attracted to men, you're looking at images of men, you're fantasizing about them, and we're all adults here, I hope. If there are any children, please leave. What happens when you're fantasizing about something you're interested in? You get aroused. I told you this was sex. What does the doctor do then? The button gets pressed. Can you see the yellow button over there? Yeah, it says treat, as if, it's an automatic button that will make you attracted to whoever you want again. So the doctor presses the button, and you get a very mild shock like that. Now, it's not too high, but if you don't like being shocked, it is going to hurt a little bit. If you like being shocked, I can't help you. So what is that followed by? Another period where the doctor asks you to look at an image of someone you want to be attracted to. Okay? And at that time, the doctor does not give you a shock. Next picture, someone you're currently attracted to. Fantasize, shock. Picture you want to be attracted to, fantasize, no shock. Does this sound familiar to anyone in terms of where the origin of such treatment is coming from? Yeah? The origin is Pavlovian classical conditioning. You remember the exercise that we all learn in school where you, measure the dog's saliva when you ring a bell and you give an unconditioned stimulus, which is, the dog's food, and then you you keep doing that until when you're ringing the bell, the dog's saliva automatically is produced without even producing food for the dog, right? You get this? Are you with me? Are you asleep? Hello? Yes? Okay. So that is the origin of this. So basically what we are doing is we are treating a patient, a client, in a counseling setting with this idea that you are like an animal whose behavior needs to be changed or can be manipulated simply by giving you a shock. Okay? Now, next. If you're not interested in, getting shock therapies all the time, because it is quite a painful process. You get up to 10 to 15 shocks per session, and it can go up to 10 to 15 sessions like that. And because of that, there is going to be, lasting impact in your head. So if you're not interested in shocks, because some sessions end with the third or fourth shock because people are like, I'm done. I'm not interested in this kind of therapy. So what are the alternate treatments? There is something called orgasmic reconditioning. Again, for adults only. The rest of you close your ears. What does it mean? It means to recondition when you're orgasming, when you're having sex, or when you're imagining sex, when you're fantasizing, when you're coming to your climax, no pun intended, then you recondition your mind to think about your object of pleasure or who you want to be attracted to. Yes, this is practiced by psychologists in India even today. Then there is hormone therapy. People who think that sexuality is just about modulating hormones, and that if you're gay, then it means you have too much of the female hormone, and therefore we need to counterbalance it, providing you more male hormones, and therefore you'll be straight again. Not necessarily true. Prayer therapy, get down on your knees for the right reasons and pray to God, and hopefully you'll stand up straight and be God, not God, but be straight. Yoga and meditation, Baba Ramdev says, 15 minutes of yoga every day, will cure you of any homosexual desire you might have. Who knew, a few twists and turns can make you stop loving Aishwarya Rai and, I don't know, start loving Abhishek Bachchan. Homeopathy. There are people who believe that homeopathy actually is a good treatment for homosexuality. But what is homeopathy? Homeopathy is about diluting, the agent that causes the disease to such a level in a liquid that there is only a memory of that agent. And then you coat it in a lot of sugar and give it to the person with the hope that the body will react to it and then create appropriate measures to counter it. Now, it beats the hell out of me what homeopaths would have to liquidate or dilute in order to cure homosexuality, because I hope they're not diluting homosexuals, because the only way they can dilute homosexuals is in a lot of vodka. And diluting Homosexuals and vodka is not treatment, it's a party time. Next. What are the other treatments that are afforded? Marriage. People say, you get married, you'll be okay. You'll never have desires for the same sex again. It's like saying extramarital affairs don't occur in India. Celibacy. You know, if you're thinking about being attracted to someone, stop thinking of sex. It's very easy. Priests, practice it all the time. And I'm sure you know they're all pious. They're all a pious lot. Prison. Our law is very clear that homosexuality, bisexuality can be punished by jail time. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But they think that that can cure you in some ways. Unfortunately, we know that what happens in prisons is actually more homosexuality. The last cure, visa to another country. Get out. There's no point. Don't try. Don't even bother. Right? Next. So let's ask the question that everybody needs the answer to. Does any of this treatment work? And the answer is, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. There is nothing wrong with your sexual orientation, whatever it may be. There is nothing wrong with being gay or being lesbian or being bisexual, right? But then why would people want to change their sexual orientation? Where is this coming from? There is this phrase called ego-dystonic sexual orientation. And what does that say? That it says gender identity or sexual preference. Look at the brackets. Heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, or prepubertal. I don't know why prepubertal is in there. This is from the International Classification of Diseases. But heterosexual is in there too. You know, I think it's tokenistic, but what it basically says is if you're heterosexual, if you're a man attracted to a woman, or you're a woman attracted to a man, and you don't like that, and you actually want to be a man attracted to a man, you know, you can get treated according to this classification. The same shock therapy. You're welcome to it, because very few heterosexuals actually think about going for treatment because of this. Next. So what are the reasons given for this? The reasons are unnatural, abnormal, not in our culture, and immoral, right? These are the words that society uses in order to talk about homosexuality. In fact, to talk about any sexual desire outside of the norm. Let's take a break and look at some dirty pictures, shall we? Gay lions, unnatural. Next. Gay swans, unnatural. Next. Gay penguins, oh my God, really unnatural. Next. Not in our culture, but in our temples. Next. Same thing. 18-year-olds only and above only. Below, please don't look. Next. Immoral. We talked about natural. We talked about culture. We talk about moral. Morality is in our country judged by law, right? So what do we have as part of our law? We have the Indian Penal Code, which was set up in 1860, which has section 377, which says if a man consents, if a man sleeps with, has sex with, against the order of nature, with another man, woman, or animal, he is punished with 10 years to life imprisonment plus fine. I don't know why the fine is. Anyway. Who set up this law? The British. Whose morality are we promoting? The British morality. Whose culture are we protecting? The British culture. And we want to believe that homosexuality is Western. Next. There is actual evidence that treatment is useless and damaging. You can look up online. There are several studies that talk about how depression increases when people are actually going through this kind of treatment, and suicide increases in terms of the number of people who attempt or commit suicide. Next. There are many sources of stigmatization of different sexual orientations in the world. Gail Rubin wrote about this in her article, Thinking Sex. One is sex negativity, the idea that we all believe that sex is bad, right? When you meet someone on the street, you don't talk about, did you have a great night last night? Yeah? You don't talk about that because that's not something you talk about. You do ask, have you had kids? Did you get married? That's all you'll ask, right? So sex is not, Indians don't have sex. We only make kids, right? So secondly, this idea of fallacy of misplaced scale. Imagine, understand this. A man who has consented to have sex with another man, or a woman who has consented to have sex with another woman in the privacy of their bedroom, is an escort, can be punished for 10 years. They're adults, they're consenting, they're doing it in their privacy, they can be arrested and put in jail for 10 years. That is misplaced scale. What are you punishing there? Is a good question to ask. Then, do you fit into the charmed circle? What is the charmed circle? The charmed circle is heterosexual, monogamous, marital, procreative. This is it. If you don't fit into being a heterosexual person who is married and who only has sex in order to reproduce, then you don't fit into the circle, which I have to often challenge by asking people, my brother and I are the only children of our parents. My parents have been married 35 years. Are you saying, therefore, that my parents had sex only twice? Oh, see, now you're thinking. Imagine your parents' sex lives. So, do you fit in the charm circle? If you don't, if you have even one non-procreative sexual act, you're done. Then there is this whole thing about domino theory of sexual peril that Indian culture talks about a lot, which is to say, if you allow for one sexual desire to be legalized, you're allowing for all kinds of things to come through. Once you decriminalize homosexuality, you'll have to decriminalize bestiality, having sex with animals, having sex with banana trees, I don't know what else, right? So this idea that you should therefore not decriminalize it is one problem. Lastly, is the lack of a benign sexual variation. Gail Rubin says that our understanding of sex is so skewed that much like, for instance, when we're talking about, I'm okay sitting at a table of people who are vegetarian and non-vegetarian, and we're okay with different tastes in that sense. We're okay about tastes in clothes, smoking preference, alcohol, etc. But we are not okay if someone says that I slept with my boyfriend and I'm gay, right? Because that kind of variation we don't like. Yeah? Why do you start applying, or when can you apply your standards to another relationship? Next. So what do we have to do? Let's look at simply what happens. Everybody's identity, and this identity can be sexual identity, it can be gender, it can be any of your identities, exists in a particular social norm, right? What is the social norm here? That you have to be heterosexual, that you have to be married, that you have to have children. Now, often because of that social norm, there is an immense amount of pressure. And that pressure, that pressure causes a lot of stress, mental health crises, low sense of self, depression, substance use, and even suicide. And I was telling someone earlier that I'm dealing with a person whose best friend committed suicide the day before yesterday in Chennai because of marriage pressures that he felt from family, and he couldn't come out as being gay in his family, and therefore went to his office, climbed up to the 8th floor of his building, and jumped because he didn't know what else to do. That's how desperate they become. Next. What happens, therefore, what we need to do is to provide a support system around those people with these kind of stresses. What is a support system? For example, a group that I'm also part of, something called Good As You. It's one of the oldest and longest surviving support groups in India. It's for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, what have you, people in Bangalore. It was established in February '94. In fact, the Bangalore Queer Film Festival is kind of made in memory, or sorry, as an anniversary thing for Good As You. Next. But a support system can be more than just a support group. It can be in party spaces, online dating, pride marches, public events, or even heterosexual allies forming, for instance, I don't know, an NIT straight gay ally group might be useful, things like that. Next. So what? What do you do? What I want you to do, to be the support system, to understand what the issues are about sexuality, to acknowledge what you can do, or what kind of context you live in within our society, where you are forced to embrace a certain kind of sexuality, a certain kind of gender performance, a certain kind of being, and you're not allowed to be anything else, or you don't allow another person the opportunity to be anything else, and enable people to, to become who they are, to become comfortable with who they are, simply by letting them be who they are and not challenging it all the time, or not assuming it all the time. When you say, why don't you, when you go to your best friend who is a man and say, why don't you have a girlfriend, isn't it about time? That is oppressive, For a lot of gay men, for a lot of lesbians who can't talk about these things, it's very oppressive to constantly hear, where's your boyfriend, where's your girlfriend? I don't want to have a girlfriend. I prefer a boyfriend, but I can't tell you because you constantly annoy me with this refrain about where's your girlfriend, where's your girlfriend. And we need to embrace the idea that there are ways of ensuring that society can change, but it starts with us. Yeah. So I often get asked this question, what do two men or two women do in their bedroom? What kind of sex is possible, really? It's nut and bolt, doesn't make sense. And I always respond by saying, this is something very simple. The question is not what they are doing in their bedroom. The question is, what are you doing in their bedroom? And this is something that's been happening across India. A lot of policemen are using the law to enter into people's private lives and asking for, I know, I've overshot my time, I know, and asking for people's names. There are people who are being arrested, phone numbers of all the people that they know taken, they're paraded in front of the media and said, these are homosexuals, look at them. And whether or not charges are filed against them, their lives are ruined. So I'm often reminded of this particular movie called Straight Jacket, which gives this quote of Guy Stone in the movie, who is asked the same thing during the McCarthy era in 1950s, when he's asked to expose the homosexuals in Hollywood. And he says, in a way, I wish I could give you 10 million names today, because then 10 million people could stop hiding. And that's really what we need to do. We have to stop hiding. But for that to happen, we need to have an environment where we can be supportive. And the rest of you would discover wonderful new sides to people you thought you knew. But I can't do that, because the main trait that separates my kind from yours is that we mean you no harm. And when you can say the same thing about us, then you will have the privilege of knowing our names. Which brings me to, do you still want to change sexual orientation? Then stick a finger in a socket somewhere. I have been Vinay Chandran. Thank you.